To my next guest coming up just a moment from now. Excited. I told you guys, I love it. Every time I get a chance to talk hoops with my man, Gary Waters, Vikings men's basketball team. Of course, they are just getting underway with a month of preparation here to get themselves ready. Of course, knowing Coach Waters, that preparation began a long time ago, perhaps the moment after the previous season ended. But we'll talk about all of that, some new faces, some new teams on the schedule. Vikings hoops preview coming up just a second from now. Since the phone lines are jammed, you can't get through. So hit us up on Facebook and Twitter and email, facebook.com/thesportsfix. Tweet with us at the Sportsfix, CLE, all one word, and you can email us, thesportsfix@AOL.com. As I said, phones not open because on the hotline right now, CSU Vikings men's basketball head coach Gary Waters joining us for the first time here in this season that has not even begun yet. Coach Waters, how you doing?
Hey, Jerry, I'm doing well.
Hey, fantastic. Glad to have you here. Before we even get to talking about hoops and basketball and stuff that work back on the grind, how was your summer? How did you, the 10 seconds that you probably took off to enjoy the summer, I should say.
Well, I did go on a vacation. I took my wife and family, all my grandchildren, everyone. We went out to Marco Island in Florida, which was a good time. So I had a chance to spend some time there.
Well, that's good. Always a chance to get away and focus, especially get out of town, you know.
Yeah, we spent a week in that area, and I didn't know that was such a beautiful island. I mean, it's part of the United States, and it looked tropical.
You can't beat that. Anything tropical, you cannot. When the water's blue, you're doing all right, you know.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And then,
right.
you know, not much of a vacation. You turn your focus back, and you know, I was thinking as we were getting ready here, and I was getting ready before the show to come on. We, you know, and especially here, because we talk pro sports, you know, high school, college, all of that. And when you do the pros a lot, especially, you always say, you know, next year, you use those phrases about, boy, the future's looking. And so many times you get there and it's just the same old thing over and over. But I love getting to talk with you every year because, like last year, you know, we talk about, boy, you think this year is going to be fun. You got some guys coming, you know, the next few years are going to be good. But then you get there and now you actually see that and you see these guys grow each year. And that's one of the things I love about not just college hoops and college sports, but you particularly. We get to come back here now and see some of those flowers come to fruition and come to growth.
Yeah, and that has happened. You know, we've had a few little glitches in the transportation of it. One glitch is you remember Sebastian Douglas. He ended up having his third knee operation, so he's not going to continue in his senior year. So, you know, that kind of when you're counting on that young man to be one of the leaders, that kind of hurts you. But the positive thing is he graduated from college and he's got a job here in the Cleveland area already, and that tells you the program is moving in the right direction. The other loss we had was Bryn Forbes, who had to go home for some issues, and he's back in Lansing. He's playing for Michigan State.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because that was a story that came up during the off season there. Because I know Forbes was such a bright spot for you guys there, and for that to happen, I wondered, you know, what's kind of some of the reasons were for that. Without, you know, obviously, I'm sure it's, you know, personal business, but I was curious.
Well, no,
about
just
that.
family. I mean, he had some family issues. I mean, you know, doctor issues that he had to get back, and when that happens, you can't stand in the way of that because it's about their family. And so what we did was we supported him in everything he did, but now he's able to go back and he'll be able to play immediately for Michigan State.
And that's a good addition for them and for him. Basketball-wise, you know, that's a good move to make if something had to be done, so at least, you know, able to pick back up kind of where he left off there. But as you said, that's not something you can count on or you can expect there when you're planning for next season.
So what we had to do is we had to minimize our loss, you know, so we can be competitive. But I'm going to tell you, it's enough in the house. We still got enough in the house.
And that's definitely a good thing there. Speaking of adding things, you know, you lose some pieces. Kazakine comes over and joins the program, and he's eligible immediately, right?
Well, I call that a God's blessing.
Yep.
You know why I call that a blessing? Is because if I would have not agreed for Bren to make his move over there, maybe he wouldn't have been here and eligible immediately. So now, we added some pieces, and that's why I say it's enough in the house.
Talk to me about Kazakine a bit, what he brings to your team. Excited to add him there.
He's a very good guard. He can handle, pass, and play both 1 and 2 positions, and he shoots the ball when he, from those positions. So now we've added another piece to help us in our what I call it our journey, to get to where we got to get to.
And that journey begins here as you guys start. You've got, about 40 days here that you can do 30 practices in the next 42 days. Am I right about that?
Right. You're on top of that. I was trying to find the word, and I said journey, but it's more so our quest. Our goal is we want to win a championship. So in our quest, you got to have enough pieces to do that, because you're going up against some tough teams. So, but I think we got enough in the house.
And I was looking last stand, the roster sits, at least as I saw, stands at 16 right now, unless I miscounted something there.
Yeah,
but,
hey, Jerry, you've been on this. It's pretty good. I like that.
Hey, you got to be ready to go here. And you talk about the goals and the journey and the quest, and that last year you talked about having the stats from the year before on the board all summer and getting guys ready. What have you done this year? I'm sure I joked about you taking 10 minutes off, but what have you done to start that quest as early as possible and get out in front of this thing?
Yeah, you're exactly right. What we have done is I thought we had a great summer, and everybody was here during the summer working hard, developing their game. And then, we started off in the fall, and everybody's been doing the same. So, I think our mental focus is right, and what I want to call our part of our theme this year is called toughness, and more so mental toughness. So I think our focus is right to be able to deal with this challenge that was going to face us.
And physical toughness, too. I know I wasn't able to get to Media Day, but I listened to your some of the things that you said, and you talked about the size that you guys added to the team. Several bigger bodies there now that are going to help that with that physical part of the toughness up front.
Oh, yes, definitely. Aaron Scales comes back. He'll be able to help us. He's a 6'9", 260-pound post guy. And then we added another young man by the name of Vinny Zolo, who's 6'9", but he's about 140, but he's athletic, and we bring that body in there. And so we've added two people to help us in that quest.
And you're bringing starters back, too, which is always important. And senior leadership at the guards, too, which you've got in Charlie Lee.
Well, that's the positive. I think we got a great balance between youth and veterans. We're bringing back 4 starters, and then we got some young men that didn't play as much last year that I'm expecting to really contribute to us, like a DeMonte Flanagan and Aaron Scales, both of those big bodies. We need those guys to be able to help us do some things.
Yep. And another guy you need, which we see the difference when he's in and when he's out, Anton Grady. We've talked about him, and obviously a big piece for what you guys want to accomplish this year. Yeah,
he's what I call our alpha dog, and when he's out there, we can go against basically anybody. And I'm excited about him. This should be a good year for him, and also, 2 other players I think should add a great deal to us. Trey Lewis had a good year last year. I think he should have even a better one this year. And then we added a new body that was redshirting last year, and I think he's going to add a lot to us. And that's Andre Yates, who transferred to us from Creighton, who played at the same school that Norris Cole played at, Dunbar, and led them to a state title. And I hope he's able to help lead us some places as well.
All right. And you know what? Speaking of that leadership, I mentioned Charlie Lee. You got Marlon Mason. He's also a senior here. Only 2 seniors on this squad here.
Yeah, so. Only 2 seniors. It's funny. We lose all those players, and we still only have 2 seniors.
Yeah.
So what I like is that we got great balance. Athletic balance. We can shoot the ball fairly decent. We're not as good a shooter team as we were last year, because last year we were the number 1 shooting 3-point shooting team in the country throughout most of the season.
I know.
So that tells that we could really shoot the ball. With the loss of Bryn Forbes and John Harris, that hurts you in those categories. However, we're adding some new ones, and Andre Yates, who I think can shoot the ball, and Kaiser King can shoot the ball, and Vinny Zolo can shoot the ball. So, we're adding 3 others to help us in those areas.
And I saw you talked about how your team is not necessarily physical, but they're full of physicality, at all the positions. Defensively, we know how you like to press and that type of defense that you're known for.
I think that will pick up for us. I think that's the positive. We're getting back to who we are. And if that happens, I think we got a great chance of doing some great things this year.
And that's funny you say that because, you notice things, especially when you watch, the team. Obviously, you see the team every year, and I know what you're saying because that defense, I just think back, nothing against the guys, looking even at last year. There's moments where they were defensive, but you think back a couple years ago, and I just remember, some of those pressing teams and just the onslaught that you would have those guys laying out defensively. That's what I think of when I think of Coach Waters and his defense.
Yes, and that's what we missed. And that's why I told you our part of our theme is toughness, because I thought we missed that what we would apply to other teams, our tough defense, and we applied it both physically and mentally. We got to get back to that if we want to be the Cleveland State that we think we are.
And another thing you and I have talked about over the last few years, and you said that it was something that you were going to make a concerted effort to continue toughening up the schedule as well, because we know you can only do so much once you get into conference play. So you've got to make sure.
And I may have bitten off more than we can chew now.
You got a schedule here this year. You got Louisville, VCU, Virginia. Several teams there on the off.
Yeah, Marshall, and then we go back to Iona. We got Toledo coming in here. I mean, we got a pretty tough schedule.
I like the way you said it too. You said, you know what, we're just going to play a bunch of good teams, play a bunch of games, and we'll let the chips fall where they may. We don't have to. We're not going to worry about winnable game. We're going to play them, and we're going to see what happens.
And we're going to continue to do that, Jarrett. From now on, I'm a believer that if you play these good teams and you get better in the fall, I mean in the winter, now you got a chance to get to the NCAA and win your conference championship.
And absolutely, and that's something like at the beginning of last season, and you saying that was something you were actively working on. Something else too, and I saw, I believe it may have just been with Media Day, but what's the status on the 4-team, the Cancer Awareness Tournament that you're working on putting together?
Oh, I think that's going to go Kent, Akron, ourselves, along with Youngstown, and I think we will always play either Kent or Akron in this tournament, and it'll happen for the next 4 years. And Youngstown will also play Kent or Akron. So we'll never play Youngstown in it. We'll just play one of those 2 teams, and it's going to be a great tournament.
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool thing, not just for the cancer awareness part of it, but to rotate that doubleheader and have those teams playing each other with the regional aspect of it. I said that's pretty interesting.
Well, they've done something like that in the they do and not have done, but they are doing something like that in Philadelphia. You've seen that tournament they have in Philadelphia. They do it with all the top 4 schools there. And we want to do the same because I think we have good basketball here in Northeast Ohio, and it's a good way that we can play each other.
And I'll tell you, looking at that schedule here, of course, then you've got the usual conference foes that are going to come up and the things you're going to have to deal with there. And that's something else you spoke of with the schedule, is not just the additional non-conference teams and the tougher schedule, was the increase with the returning players and the better caliber within the conference this year as well.
Oh, yeah, this is going to be a tough conference because, I look at the Green Bay basically got everybody back. Valpo got everybody back. Yep. Detroit's got everybody back. And who else are we missing here? Oakland's got a strong team. So now, this is going to be a strong conference. And then, eventually in the near future, I think we're going to add either a 10th or even up as many as 3 teams to make it 12. So this conference is going to get stronger and stronger as the years to come.
Yeah, and you even saw by the end of last season the competitiveness. We saw some upsets, and we saw in the tournament, the end of the end of season tournament there.
Yeah, with Milwaukee upsetting Green Bay and Wright State to get to the tournament. So this is going to be a tough conference this year because I didn't even mention Milwaukee and Wright State, and they're tough every year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For those that follow the ins and outs of the horizon. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Just about a month away here. We're outside of a month from the start of the season. But,
we just hit football, and a month away we're going to hit basketball.
I was saying that the other day.
And then you got the NBA starting up. Hey, I tell you, it's never ending.
No, I know. We do a daily shows, and just like a couple of weeks ago, I said,